right, let's bring in our powerhouse panel for the day. The former special assistant to President Trump and commentary editor at the Washington Times, and also a Newsmax contributor. Kelly Sadler's title just keeps getting longer and longer and longer. It is great to have you here. Also, best-selling author and political analyst Mark Halpern, and Project 21 National Advisory Board member and co-host Christopher Arps. Good morning, folks. Let's get right to it. Let's get right to Afghanistan. The situation still very tense, a real race against time. People still trying to escape the country and the Taliban. The Biden administration being criticized on the Sunday shows about how it was handled. They are in full defense mode right now. This White House Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin was speaking yesterday about the situation, specifically talking about what the Biden administration inherited. Take a listen.
We came in and we were faced with a May 1 deadline to have all forces out of the country. This deal had been struck with the Taliban. And so he had to very rapidly go through a detailed assessment and look at all options.
Mark, I want to start with you. This is a little bit more of the blame Trump sort of defense that we have heard from this administration over the last couple of weeks. Do you think that it's starting to? Do you think that it's working? Because they've seemed to be really focused on. There was really nothing more that we can do, whether it's Austin saying it, Blinken, or the president. Your thoughts?
I don't think blaming the previous administration's working with the press, which is a change, of course. I don't think it's working with some Democrats, and I don't think it's working with the facts on the ground. This president had all the options before him. He ran saying he would do this, plenty of time to prepare. The good news for America is that they are doing, by all accounts, a better job of getting folks out. They are putting resources behind it. And the Taliban, if they plan to wreak havoc, is taking its time doing that. So I don't think blaming President Trump is going to work in this case. And it shouldn't be what they do, because, as I said, this is the mission they took on. This president went into this, in theory, with his eyes wide open.
Yeah, and he also had a lot of flexibility. You can't criticize the former administration and say that they were incompetent and it was a bad deal, then come in and stick with that deal. This wasn't a treaty that was ratified by the Senate. They did have some flexibility here. Kelly Sadler, your thoughts on the sort of defense mode that this Biden White House continues to be in?
Well, they see their poll numbers, right? In poll after poll that came out this weekend shows that Biden is not only underwater on Afghanistan, he's greatly underwater. Depending on the poll, 60% of Americans disapprove with how he's handling the withdrawal to, more than 70%. So I think the White House didn't anticipate this blowback. They've had a very friendly press. And I think they thought that the excuse of, oh, well, this is a problem that we inherited was going to fly. And they've seen over the past several weeks that the press is simply not buying it. And I think his poll numbers are cratering because of a suspended press effort against him. I mean, even when you have pundits on MSNBC criticizing the president, this is clearly not how the White House anticipated this going. And this is the first time we've seen in Biden's presidency where he has sustained criticism on all sides for a suspended period of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was pretty shocked, actually. You're not used to watching the Sunday shows and hearing them criticize a Democratic president. Terry Moran said that Biden seemed adrift from the facts and that Americans expect presidential leadership. Very, very strong words. Chris, I want to get your reaction to this. This is former U.S. Ambassador to Afghanistan Ryan Crocker on the Sunday shows yesterday discussing the situation here on CBS, saying what could be ahead from a national security standpoint. Take a listen.
It has created a global crisis, quite frankly. It has emboldened violent Islamic radicals. And I think we're all going to see the fallout of that. Certainly in Pakistan. They championed the Taliban because they felt they had no choice. Well, the Taliban victory, the narrative of defeating the great infidel, empowers radicals in Pakistan that they're going to have to deal with if they can. And that's a country of 220 million people with nuclear weapons. China has its Uyghur Muslim population in its west. They're tuned in. They're definitely looking at what happened in Afghanistan.
Chris, if you're in Ukraine right now, if you are in Pakistan, if you're in Taiwan, if you're in any of the countries in the Middle East that have dealt with the rash of radical Islamic terrorism, you know, what is going through your mind right now?
I mean, you're wondering, is the United States going to have your back? I mean, we're hearing reports in Afghanistan that Al-Qaeda is reconstituting itself. We're hearing that ISIS is also reconstituting itself in Afghanistan as well. We lost our resolve. We have our neighbors in Great Britain who are just apoplectic that we have left our people and their people there to be under the Taliban. So this is just a really bad situation that I don't see really getting better anytime soon.
Mark, you know, the president says that our allies, he hasn't heard any criticism from our allies on all of this. Just another one of these reasons why people feel like he's not living in reality. On the Al-Qaeda issue as well, as Chris points out, he's been talking about the fact that Al-Qaeda is gone from Afghanistan. Secretary of State Antony Blinken on the Sunday shows had to come out and confirm, well, that's not entirely true. I mean, if you're this White House, what do you, and I think we have about a minute left, if you're this White House, what do you do to close this disconnect between the President of the United States and his secretaries?
Unfortunately, presidents of both parties don't always tell the truth during times of war. We're seeing that now. I think the administration wants to deal with the short-term problem of trying to continue to have no American casualties, no American hostages, get at as many people as possible, which they're doing. And then the question is the longer term. When this country falls under Taliban control and terrorism comes back, what then?
All right. I want to thank our panel. We're going to see you at the top of the next hour.